No need to worry about that. I'm very pleased to introduce a man who needs no introduction. Our next HU Talk presenter, Dr. Sam Minner. We all know Dr. Minner as the president of New Mexico Highlands for the last 8 years, but you may not know that he did other things before he came to Highlands. Imagine that. One of which was owning and managing a vineyard with his wife, Jo. And when he leaves his job at the end of June, he has some bucket list travel plans, which maybe he'll share with us. Please welcome Dr. Minner as he presents his talk on the second mountain, a framework for life.
Hey everyone, thanks so much. Thanks for joining me this afternoon. It's such a beautiful day. I certainly wouldn't have blamed you for stepping out in it. It's just almost perfect weather. So I think I know, let me see who's on here. I think I just about know everyone who's on here, but maybe not quite. So if I don't, I'm Sam Minner, who's the president of New Mexico Highlands, as Julie mentioned. This is the start of my 9th year, 8 full years, 15. It's been one of the most incredible events of my life to come to Las Vegas, Mexico, to work here at Highlands, our students, our beautiful mission. And I really thank everybody for that opportunity. I have received a couple requests, so I am going to talk about the topic, my topic of the day, the second mountain, but also to make myself available at the end if there's time, just for questions about the university as we go through this transition. We are in a presidential search, as you know, so hopefully I'll be able to do that as well. So, in looking at the folks who are on, most, not all, most are, virtually all are university people, and a lot of you are my colleagues, your faculty members, or do something at the university. Let me ask just somebody real quick here. And if any of my questions are too personal or you don't want to share, that's, you know, but somebody who is a faculty member, when would you say you made that decision to work in the academy, be a faculty member? That was going to be your career, or at least one facet of your career. When did you know that? Anyone? Come up about with the time, maybe not the instant, I guess. Well, maybe no. Let's go to.
I guess, do people know they need to unmute?
Oh yeah, if you want to say something, please unmute. It's a little difficult for me to see everybody the way that the room is set up. So you may have your hand up or something, and I can't see you. So please just chime in if you'd like. Anyone?
I'll say when I got my first job, that's when I knew.
Who's this speaking? I can't see.
Peter Linder.
Peter, your first job in higher ed, that's when you knew.
Yeah, I found I could do it.
When was that about? How old were you?
The first time I taught my own class was the spring semester of 1990.
Spring semester of 90. Wow. Okay, so that is going back. This has been studied as we climb, as academics climb our first mountain. Almost every facet of that has been studied very carefully, actually. And most of us can say, if I can get this to advance, get it to move forward. Not sure where we point. Let me just go to the next one. So most of us who are academics, myself, we did decide very early. As I said, it's been studied really carefully. And there are a couple common threads. I've been working on a book for many years, Blue Collars and Ivory Towers, where I talk to people, much like myself, first generation college students from, you know, a lower middle class or a lower class background, socioeconomic kind of status. And those of us who went to college from that kind of background and then stuck with it, there are several common threads, as I said. One, people who do that they like school and they're pretty good at it. So they're drawn to it. They usually get pretty good grades. My grades were okay, nothing great, believe me, but okay. And but it's something that I knew very early on that I wanted to do. I had a vision in my mind, like a lot of academics do, about the life of the mind and what that would look like and how that would work. And some of it actually came to pass, some of it didn't. So I was drawn in my own understanding of my career as I've been working on this book to this book, The Second Mountain by David Brooks. It's these days I buy books, I read them, and you know, and then I give them away or, you know, put them in the free book box or something. But this came out several years ago. Many of you know David Brooks. He's a commentator. Oh, he's been on Meet the Press many, many times. He's a New York Times columnist. He writes for some other media as well. And he came out with this idea early on. It was an idea before it became a book called The Second Mountain. And basically what it amounts to is this, that let's start with our career. It's, I think, much more interesting to use this kind of metaphor for our lives in general, not just our work lives, not just our careers. But let's start off with that concept. So the first mountain of most of our careers as academics, we decide we're going to be an academic, we're going to be a professor type person. Again, that comes up very, very early in life for most of us who decide to go that way. So obviously, as you climb this mountain, the first mountain, so the mountain on my left, there are way stations along the way that we need as academics to kind of visit. And sometimes those visits are pretty long. So obviously, graduating university with a 4-year degree, and then keeping on. Now, for most of us, we're in our 20s at that time. Some of us have started families, have kids, mortgages, all of that, and yet still going to school. One of the things that I found that was true in my own life, but it was true for many people like me, as we're climbing the first mountain in our career to try to achieve the peak, however we define that. But as we do that, we find that, first of all, it's very, very, very time consuming, expensive, and difficult to achieve. For example, let's say that this area right here, if you can see where that arrow is the way station, you know, where you started your doctoral degree, your PhD. And for most scholars, that's a multi-year deal, 3 or 4 years, 5, 6. I've known many who were at it longer than that. To achieve all that you have to achieve through there in order to climb the first mountain. If the first mountain is, for you, the achievement is a tenure track position at a university, that is really hard to do. I mean, most people, frankly, many of the doctoral students that I worked with, if they knew how hard it was, they wouldn't do it. It's kind of like, you know, I have a PhD and just fill in the blank. In some of these disciplines, we have maybe a dozen, maybe 20 jobs a year in the whole nation for people with that background. So it's really, really, really hard to do. And yet that's one of the stops on the way station as you find this first job. And then, you know, up you go, you get a tenure track job, you get tenure. Let's say that little peak right there is your tenure year decision. A huge decision. How many people in our society have a job that's close to a job for life? Supreme Court justices and kind of tenured faculty, but kind of is the operative phrase there. It doesn't really mean that that's good. But so there is another way station. And up and up and up you go until you achieve at least what you started out to achieve to start with. Those of you who were on, let's see who else, my faculty colleagues. Robert, I see you on there. Who else is on there? Deborah, Eric's on there, Emily. So when you started on your, or Peter, you've already chimed in, but when you started on your journey, your higher ed journey to achieve that, whatever was at the peak of that first mountain for you, what was that? What early on in your career would you say, okay, I'm there, I've achieved it? Was it a tenured position? Was it a full professorship? Was it a something else? I mean, I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts that they want to share on that? What did you want when you first decided to go down the academic path? Anybody?
Well, I can say, President Minner, this is actually my second mountain because I started out in corporate America and got to the top, and it was, you know, money, right? That's what you want when you're in corporate America. And I looked around and I was completely unsatisfied. So now I'm doing what I love. So
well, yeah, that is this Bob? It sounds like your voice.
Yeah,
Robert.
sorry, it's me. Rob Caraba.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Well, that's an interesting statement that you made there, Robert. I mean, that this is your second mountain, because that's really, in many ways, kind of at the very heart of this book. Basically, David Brooks says that if we're just talking about our job, if we're just talking about our career, just try to limit it to that. The first mountain is pretty predictable if we're talking about academics. Getting a job, getting the PhD, getting that job, tenure track job, getting promoted, eventually getting tenured, all of those kinds of things. Sometimes it goes on past that. But for many people, and not just in the higher ed domain, but for many people, the question that you posed, or the statement that you made, I guess, to be more precise, is that you did not find it meaningful, that you did not find it something that you really wanted to do for the rest of your life, that you did not find that it brought meaning to your life. That's what you're saying, isn't it? That experience in the corporate world?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, it's just, you know, chasing the dollar didn't do it for me.
Well, he says, let's go back to the, if I can get back. So looking at these two peaks here, he's saying that in life, now let's kind of shift from our jobs, our careers, to our lives generally, that in life, that the struggles that we face and the challenges that we face sometimes overcome, sometimes don't. Climbing the first mountain in our life often, not always, gets us to a place that you just described. It gets us to a place, is this it? How many times have I said that in my career? All the hours that I spent working on that paper or that grant proposal or that book prospectus or this, all that time, all that effort, and it's kind of like, and this is it? This doesn't bring me meaning in my life the way it did before. Now, he has an idea, and some other, he's not really a philosopher, but there are some other philosophers that have ideas about why that might be. And basically what they say is that, so look at this first peak. So you're on the way and you're making your way up there. But if there were arrows in the sky here, they would be going this way, toward you, toward me. Yeah, whoops, sorry about that. But let's see if I can go back there. And let's see.
While we're doing that, Peter Linder mentioned getting tenure and eventual promotion.
Yeah, those are big ones for academics. There's no doubt about it.
And
if I may.
Yeah, there are many. At any rate, as we're looking for this, it's not a critical.
Sam, if I could comment on that as well.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric. Yeah, I recognize your voice.
Just I want to mention, similar to Peter, Dr. Linder, I kind of fell into the profession. I started teaching in '84, and it was after I had finished up my master's degree in a university, a college in Mexico. And for my thesis, I had done some work on immigration and border studies, and they didn't have that as a specialization or a research topic at the university. So I got invited in to instruct in that area. And of course, I've been here at Highlands for a while. I've been here 28 years. And even though I was not in a tenure track position, I think for me, that second mountain, or at least climbing the second mountain, has been finding that balance and finding that comfort with the pace that's being asked of me, and having the flexibility of doing community research, the instruction and the academic research. So for me, rather than, I didn't have to worry about the promotion and tenure criteria, but I still tried to be productive in that sense. But really, being able to say that I have a balance in place as far as my combining those different things and the flexibility to pursue different areas of research and instruction. So there's a comfort level that goes along with it that I don't think is necessarily correspondent to a salary or a tenured position.
I understand exactly what you're saying, so I really appreciate that comment, Eric. So this is the graphic that I was looking for. For many of us, not all, as we climb this one in our lives, not just our work, but it's all about, for some, it's mainly about, maybe no one it's all about, but me. I want that job. I want that PhD. I want that tenure track position. Me, as you climb that first peak. Now, he believes, and he's got all kinds of examples in his book, that in order to get over here, which he believes is a more, how should I put it, more evolved kind of human position to be in. He believes actually that for many of us, this feels true to me, that you have to get through all this crap. That in order to get over here with these arrows going out, I still care about my own life. I care about my own career. I care about my vida. I care about all these things. But this is really shifted now. Now these arrows are going this way in my career. Maybe I had to go through all this, and maybe I wouldn't have kind of explored around here. Some people, of course, they achieve these things, however that's defined for them. And then they go down here, they go down into the valley, sometimes the valley of despair, and it's really difficult sometimes for them to kind of get back on, the horse and head back up there, because of all these feelings that they're having. So I would like, that's okay, I'm good there. So I'd like for you to think about that in regard to your personal life. So you don't have to say, it's very, very personal. Somebody wants to say, feel free. But what was the first peak? What was the first mountain for you? In your life, what was the first mountain that you tried to scale? How would you describe that? What was the goal? Did you make it? What about lessons learned along the way as you went up there? Yeah, that kind of. And then if you did, you know, achieve something close to what you wanted to achieve on that first mountain, then what about the second one? So what's that look like for you? So how is your life different in terms of how you think about it, how you engage the world? Now that you're climbing, probably not at the very peak, but climbing that second mountain. After having gone through everything that you had to with the first. So anyway, it's a really interesting book. I use it, I go back to it quite a bit. It kind of guides me. So what kind of time do we have? You leave my watch.
It is 3:23.
3:20.
And you're the last speaker of the day.
Oh, okay. So all right. So that's all between me and you and the cocktail hours, I guess, I'm the last speaker. So anybody have any thoughts about what I've shared about Mr. Brooks' work? His thoughts about navigating not only your career, but life. He also has a lot to say, and Robert, I see you still on there, thank you for that, about, you know, what we emphasize in the academy. I mean, you know, we are about breaking people out of poverty. I don't know if you saw, but I think we're in the top 50, I think, in the nation. Again, this year on social mobility, that's going to be coming out here pretty soon, U.S. News. Not a big fan of the U.S. News, by the way, but nonetheless. But nonetheless, that's important for us. That's important for our students. But yet, I mean, I do believe, and I know that some of my colleagues who are on here with me also believe that, you know, the lessons learned, the engagements that you'll have as you're climbing that second mountain in life, those are really, really, really critical. As critical as, you know, learning how to make a good living. All of that, everybody's for that, you know, but there are other lessons that are important. And we, I think, tend to forget that sometimes. The lessons that are most important to try to get through are those lessons learned on that side. Any other thoughts or comments from anybody? I see Raymond. Raymond, you have your hand up?
No, sir.
Okay, anybody else? So anybody else would like to make a comment? Or we do have some time, so I don't know, what time is the run thing for?
It starts at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning, and people can show up as early as 7 o'clock to register.
Oh, yeah, I thought there was one this afternoon.
There is, sir.
Oh,
Oh, there
sorry.
is. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
it's suicide prevention.
oh, that.
Yes.
Anything else, my colleagues, or anything else that you would like to ask me about what's going on at the university generally, my thinking, my plans, my hopes, dreams, your hopes, dreams, anything?
Tell us about your bucket list travel.
Bucket list travel. So this job that I have makes it really difficult to travel, so we've not really traveled much at all. But next year now, right after retirement, I'm going to, Joan and I are going to Iceland. So I'm looking forward to that. I've got a couple other bucket trips. I want to go to Cuba. Not been there, close a couple times, but never quite made it. And then I want to go to Antarctica. I want to be on every continent that I can. That's there. So. Is there anything else from any of you, my colleagues, this afternoon? All right. Well, hearing no other comments or seeing no other questions, I thank you so much. I do appreciate your time. I hope that the rest of the homecoming's great. So thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
Bye.
My brother's was nice. My brother. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's on my bucket list.
You know.
How are you?
My mom visited.
It's good to see you.